The night I turned 18, my dad handed me a pen and said, "Tomorrow morning we'll take care of the paperwork. It's just a formality." And I remember thinking, funny, because I had already taken care of mine. Before I tell you how that pen nearly cost my father everything, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to her untold revenge. And tell me where you're watching from. I read every comment, and it still blows my mind how far these stories travel. Okay, let me take you back. When I was 12, my grandfather Harold used to wake me up before sunrise at the Cedar Lake cabin. Not gently, either. He'd knock once on the bedroom door and say, "Up, Abby, the lake doesn't wait for sleepyheads." That cabin wasn't fancy. The porch leaned slightly to the left like it had a secret. The screen door had a tear Grandpa kept meaning to fix. The kitchen cabinets didn't match, but it felt alive. It hummed in the mornings when the mist rolled off the water. It creaked at night like it was settling into its bones. Grandpa would sit at the edge of the dock with a thermos of coffee, and I'd sit beside him, swinging my legs. He taught me how to read the water, how ripples meant wind shifting, how stillness meant depth. "You don't look at what something costs," he told me once, nudging my shoulder. "You look at what it gives." I didn't understand that then. Back home in Ridgemont, everything felt transactional. My dad, Greg, ran his building supply store like a battlefield. My mom, Denise, tracked bills on spreadsheets color-coded by stress level. My younger sister, Kelsey, got new ballet shoes before I got new sneakers. It wasn't cruel, just obvious. When Grandpa died, I was 14. I watched my dad and Uncle Wade whispering by the coffin. Not crying, whispering. Wade had that tight smile he gets when he smells money. I caught one sentence as I walked by. "Lakefront like that won't sit long." They were talking about the cabin. 2 years later, Grandma Vivian got sick. The kind of sick that steals breath in inches. The last time I saw her, she pressed something into my palm. A folded card. "Don't argue with them," she whispered. "Just be ready." I didn't open the card until I got home. It was a business card. Margaret Caldwell, estate attorney. I kept it tucked in my journal. I didn't call. Not yet. Because here's the thing about being the responsible daughter: you're taught to smooth things over, to not escalate, to be agreeable. I told myself my dad wouldn't actually try to sell it. That grief just makes people weird. I was wrong. When I was 17, Wade started visiting more, always with folders, always talking about liquidity and untapped assets. He'd sit at our kitchen table like he owned it, tapping spreadsheets on his laptop. "Abigail, sweetheart," he said once, smiling like a shark in khakis, "do you know what that property's worth now? $500,000 easy." I shrugged. "It's not for sale." He chuckled. "Everything's for sale." That sentence stuck in my throat for months. 3 months before my 18th birthday, Margaret Caldwell called me. "I've been waiting," she said calmly, like we'd had an appointment all along. She told me my grandparents had created an irrevocable trust when I was 12. The cabin, investment accounts, a separate education fund, all legally transferred years before they died. I was the sole beneficiary. It never passed through probate. It was never my father's to inherit. I remember gripping the edge of her desk so hard my fingers hurt. "They knew?" I asked. "They anticipated," she corrected gently. Margaret explained something else too. Someone she wouldn't say who had recently requested copies of the cabin's title history. "They're preparing to move quickly," she said. "You need to be prepared to move first." The night before my birthday, my parents threw a party. Balloons, sheet cake. Greg made a toast about family unity and smart decisions for the future. I could feel the performance in his voice, the setup. After everyone left, he cornered me in the kitchen. "Tomorrow," he said, sliding a manila envelope toward me, "we'll finalize some transfers. The cabin's being sold. It's the right thing to do." I looked at the papers, a quitclaim deed, my name typed neatly beneath a signature line. "You want me to sign this over?" I asked. "It's just to simplify the chain of title," Wade chimed in from the doorway. Technical stuff. Technical stuff. Like giving away something that legally belonged to me." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just said, "I'll review it in the morning." At 11:59 p.m., I sat in my room on a video call with Margaret. The trust documents were open on my laptop. At midnight, I signed my formal acceptance as successor beneficiary. Margaret electronically recorded the confirmation at 8:01 a.m. sharp. At 8:45 a.m., my dad and Wade walked into the county recorder's office with their shiny little deed. It was rejected. The property had been held under the Temain family irrevocable trust for 6 years. That record wasn't new. It had been sitting there quietly the entire time. They just never bothered to check. Wade called me first. "What did you do?" he demanded. "Nothing," I said. I accepted what was already mine. There was a long pause. Then he lowered his voice. Ridgeline's expecting clean title. Ah, so there it was. He'd already signed a contract with a developer. Without owning the land, Greg came home pale, not angry, stunned, like someone had flipped a light on in a room he didn't know he was standing in. "You went behind my back," he said. "No," I replied softly. "Grandpa did." Denise cried, said I was tearing the family apart over a building. But it was never just a building. It was mornings on the dock. It was Grandma's blueberry pancakes. It was the only place I ever felt fully chosen. The fallout was ugly. Ridgeline sued Wade for breach of contract. His real estate license was suspended pending investigation into irregular paperwork. Turns out the notary stamp on their deed didn't belong to any active notary in the county. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt anchored, because for the first time I wasn't scrambling to keep peace. I was standing on something solid. A week later, I moved into the cabin. The first night alone, I sat on the porch wrapped in one of Grandma's old quilts. The lake was glassy. A loon called somewhere across the water. I unfolded a letter Margaret had given me, one Grandpa had written for me years ago. "If you're reading this," it said, "it means you kept your head when others lost theirs. I don't blame your father for wanting money. I blame him for not seeing what matters." He ended it with, "Protect what protects you." I cried then. Not loud, dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears that felt like release. Kelsey visited that summer. She stood on the dock, arms crossed, pretending not to be impressed. "It's actually peaceful," she admitted. "You can come anytime," I told her. She nodded. I didn't know about their plan. I know, and I did know. She was a kid. We both were, once. Greg and I are rebuilding, slowly, carefully, like replacing fence posts one at a time. He's never apologized outright, but he showed up one Saturday with a toolbox and fixed the porch railing without being asked. That's his version of sorry. I'm studying environmental science now. I want to protect places like Cedar Lake, not sell them. Here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who love you prepare shields you don't even see forming. My grandparents couldn't control my father's choices, but they could control what they left behind and who they trusted to guard it. If you've ever had to stand your ground against the very people who taught you how to stand, you know how complicated that feels. It's not revenge. It's boundaries with a backbone. So let me ask you, what would you protect, even if it meant disappointing someone you love? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. And if this story resonated with you, subscribe to her Untold Revenge. Share this with someone who needs the reminder that being the good daughter doesn't mean being the silent one. Sometimes keeping the promise is the bravest thing you can do. And sometimes the pen they hand you is the one you refuse to use.